Whereas if you just come over and plonked yourself down and said hello to me, hey man, how are you? Then you would have been able to actually chill into the set and to figure out what the dynamic was, where I was at in the conversation with it. Then I could have introduced you, and I could have moved it around and would have rolled fine. Yeah. So being able to go up to a girl, throw something out there, and expect that when two strangers meet, often it's strange. Yeah, it's a little bit awkward, and particularly in somewhere like London where people have their guard up. You know, I've noticed that in going and chatting to girls that they're certainly not as receptive as, say, they are in Sweden or in Australia. But that's just a minor cultural difference. That's just them responding to the stimulus of a massive impersonal city. At the heart of it, they're still women. They still like men. They still want to meet new and interesting and sexy men. And you just need to allow for the slight variations in the way that they're going to respond. So what I'll do is I'll just throw out a couple of words and then I shut the fuck up and see how she responds. Because sometimes when you go up and I say something like that, oh, they left you to clean up. They may have just opened immediately and go, oh yeah, no, blah, 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 you know, we're always the ones left behind. In which case I would have been able to adjust to the energy of the situation and bring it up to where it was. But instead, if I'd gone in with some long, convoluted opener about horses and puking on girls and stuff like that, firstly, they don't hear half of it because they're just still reeling from the fact that strangers come up to them. And secondly, I'm not actually taking an opportunity to gauge where they're at, what energy they're at, what their mindset is at that time, how open they are and receptive they are to being talked to. So instead, I wait and I see the girl go like this. Okay. Now, get used to this. I actually much prefer dealing with a girl who throws attitude at me straight away than I do dealing with a really pleasant, nice girl. Because if someone who's really, really friendly to everybody, there's not much to lean against. There's not so much you can create tension of. Whereas a girl who gives a little bit of attitude, I enjoy that. So in that situation, she went like this, and I said, oh, this doesn't happen often, does it? And again, I just wait. And I'm deliberately ambiguous with what I'm saying because I want her to question me and to come out of a shell. If there's awkwardness between two people, my definition of awkwardness is two people pretending something's not awkward. Yeah? You know, you've been in that situation, say you've gone to a party, you both you know the host but you don't know anyone else. You go up and say, hey man, how you going? And he's like, hey, yeah, hey, this is my friend, and then he leaves you with some other dude. And you're like standing there like, hey, so man, how do you know the host? Yep, cool. And what do you do? Yeah, right, you're in a field that I know nothing about and care not at all about. Yeah, awesome. And both of you are dying inside and, you know, trying to be friendly and polite and feeling this negative tension because there are different types of tension. The easiest way to get over that in any social situation is just to call it out. Yeah? If things are getting a little bit awkward, just say, is it getting awkward in here or is it just me? Because immediately what that does is it releases the tension. Because then we don't have to play the game anymore. There's no more expectation of us pretending to be something we're not or pretending to enjoy a situation that we don't like or whatever else it is. Yeah? So that's one thing you can do. If you go up to a girl and it is awkward, that's totally fine because when strangers meet, there is often a period of cloudy kind of awkwardness, which if you sit in it and allow it to be what it is, or you just call it out, it'll dissipate, and then you can move on to being relaxed and normal. What I want to talk to you guys primarily today about is three aspects that I coach guys on. Three huge, they're massive areas, and I run a 12-week, 80-hour course on this, so I can't go through all of it, obviously, but I want to touch on each of these areas. Because if you only learn, and they are, okay, so the nuts and bolts of seduction, and in my case what I'm teaching is natural style of seduction. Internal change, which includes confidence, charisma, state control, mindset, beliefs, whole range of things. And then lifestyle design, which is your ability to, and this includes your career, your health, the way that you dress, the interests that you have, the people you have around you, and your mission in life is the primary thing. Because if you don't focus on all of these three things, you'll be a very lopsided human being. if you only focus on seduction, and I know this because I did this, I reached a point where I had an incredibly interesting life. You know, I was a musician, I was a martial artist, I was a massage therapist. I had a whole range of friends in all sorts of social areas because I'd spent most of my time building my lifestyle. And when I got into seduction, I got into it fucking hardcore. And I was with 3 other guys who were all very, very good naturals, and we trained each other, and that's all we did. You know, for money, all I did was I massaged like 1 or 2 people a day. We used to seduce rich girls so that we could eat, and that's pretty much all we did. And what I found was that after about a year of this, I was dating a girl who I'd been seeing in an open relationship for about a year, who was a fucking really cool girl. And she came to me one day and she said, Jamie, you're dumped. And I said, but we're in an open relationship, you can't really dump me, can you? And she said, well, whatever it is, we're not having sex anymore. And I always like to interview people. Like, if I get blown out from a set, I'll go back to the girl and say, before I leave your life forever, I was wondering if you just might be able to give me a little bit of honest feedback, and please make sure it's honest. I won't be offended. Just tell me what repulsed you. And this can be a really cool thing to do. Is if you guys go into a set and it doesn't work, just go back and ask her to give you some feedback. Often they won't. They'll just say, yeah, I don't know, I'm weird. But if you meet a switched on honest girl, she'll just tell you, yeah, when you came up to me, you stood way too close and you smell a bit funny, and you asked me a weird question about a horse. I didn't like any of that. And I'm like, all right, take note. So, same thing. When you're in this situation, I was being dumped, and I was like, all right, well that stings. Do you want to tell me why? She's like, yeah, of course. When I met you, you're an incredibly interesting person. You were focusing on spiritual development as well as being, you know, into music and travel and all this interesting stuff. And you know, she was working with us in the company. She had no issue with it. She said, you know, I support what you guys do. I think it's really interesting. I think guys need to learn this stuff. But all you guys do every day, all day, is think, talk, and do game. And it's just fucking boring. And that's why I'm dumping you, because you become boring. And that's the only thing that ever hurts me. Like, that's a real insult to me. I don't mind being called a fucking cunt, if it's appropriate, but I do mind being called boring. And so I took that on board because it was really important, because I had focused all my energy for a long period of time on seduction, and I got very, very good at it, and I could get very consistent results. But I'd done it to the detriment of my lifestyle and of my health, and of keeping my friendships with people and my family life and all that stuff as well. There was another point in my life where I was very deeply into spirituality, into self-development, building myself up from the core, and I remember I used to have a job as a bouncer at a bar, and I loved that job because I got to stand there and meditate all day. I would sometimes accidentally let 12-year-olds into the bar because I wasn't focusing on the other part of the job, which is stopping young people going into the bar. During that time, I didn't really have a social life so much. I was quite an austere and stoic person, and I was very at ease with myself. I was very comfortable. I was very confident, but I wasn't putting myself out there. Yeah? So just working on that is not going to fix everything either. There was also another time in my life where I was primarily a musician, and being a musician, even if you're playing like jazz flute, is a good way to meet girls, for sure. There's a reason why skinny guys start bands. There's nothing to do with music. And so there was a time where the only way that I met girls was by getting up, playing a gig, and then when a girl went like this to me, I'd walk over and go, hi, did you like my gig? And then she might kiss me, and that was kind of my game. And I reached a point where I realized that I was scared shitless of ever losing that. Like, if I didn't have a band, what would I be? Yeah? If I didn't have an unknown Australian band that was never going to get famous, who would I be? And so just engineering a lifestyle just to get girls was also not the thing that was going to make me feel at ease overall. When you combine these 3 aspects and you're working on them at even levels, then your results go through the roof. And there is something to be said for at different periods you need to become reasonably obsessed about something. Okay, there's going to be points in your life when you guys are, if you're studying, you have to just buckle down and study, and your social life may suffer for a while. There will be times where, as you guys are now focusing over these last four days, you put everything else aside and come here and go on, all right, I really want to get this area of my life sorted. I've come to source the experts in the field. We'll just, drop everything else and we'll wear the same underpants for 4 days and deal with the washing on Monday. That's what I'm doing. Oh dear, pity the girl I'm going on a date with tonight. Oh, I laughed at my own joke. See, not funny anymore. Bad. Hey?
She'll like it.
She'll love it. She'll learn to like it. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to give you guys some concepts as well as some very practical tools on each of these areas that we can go through. So they're things that you can think about, because I think it's really important to look at all of this stuff from a macro and a micro level at once. If we get too into our head into the existential esoteric meaning of it all, then it becomes just sort of pontification. But you do need to look at the bigger picture and asking yourself questions like, why the fuck are you doing this? And what is the outcome that you are really after? And is it your outcome or is it an outcome that somebody has sold to you? Is really important to do. And it's important to check in on that at various points along the way, because what you actually want is going to change over time. When you first get in this, I know when I first got in it, it was kind of to get revenge against the cool chicks at school. Yeah? If I'm honest with myself, that was really why I was doing it. Because they made my life miserable. The cool guys got the chicks. Fuck you. I'm going to fuck yous all, and then I'll feel good about myself. Which was not a great motivation, but that was my motivation to start with. And over time, that shifted to, okay, I want to push my limits. I want to understand myself as a man. I want to engage with more interesting, beautiful, challenging women. And then that kept on shifting. So I encourage you guys to step back fairly regularly and look at what is the big picture of this. Are you still on track heading towards your actual goals? At the same time, we need to look down at the micro level to the actual practicalities of how to do this.